I am very, very proud this morning to have as our first guest Elise Stefanik. As you know, she announced yesterday that she would be the Republican conservative candidate for mayor or for governor next year. I want to give you a little bit of background of Elise. You probably know a lot of this because she's been out there accomplishing a great deal over a number of years. But Elise was first elected to Congress in 2014. At that time, she was the youngest woman in history to ever be elected to Congress. Elise was born in Albany, and at the age of 14, she was featured in a Times unit profile about U.S. Senator Al D'Amato, saying that she supported the Republican view. So, from early on, she had values. She graduated from Harvard University, a very smart, obviously, individual. She worked in the Bush administration as a staff member for U.S. domestic policy. She was elected to Congress in 2014, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. She has a strong pro-Israel supporter. She is a very strong pro-New York supporter. So, Elise, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here, and I more than appreciate the fact that you've committed to run this race.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Ralph. It's great seeing you over the years as I've campaigned in Erie County, helping local candidates. And we had a great day yesterday, a great launch. And I will tell you, it's not just Republicans and conservatives, independents. Even Democrats across the state have felt that Kathy Hochul has failed them. So there's a lot of energy with our great launch.
Look, Kathy Hochul, in my opinion, is the worst governor in this country. I've known that woman for decades, and she is extremely shallow. She puts her finger up in the air and decides where the political waves are going, and that's where she goes. This is a woman who actually was in Congress one term in the most Republican seat, and now is clearly a socialistic Democrat. I mean, she's made that flip.
She has, and I call and have dubbed Kathy Hochul the worst governor in America, and boy, does it stick. She's also an accidental governor, Ralph. As you know, in 2022, the only reason Kathy Hochul was even on the ballot is because that was when Cuomo was pushed out. Kathy Hochul was chosen as Cuomo's sort of do-nothing LG to just be out there at ribbon cuttings. This is not someone who has gone through the primary process among even registered Democrats across New York State. She's going to this time, as her own hand-picked Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado is primarying her, which says a lot. This is the number 2 that she chose, she handpicked, and he has had a front row seat of her failures. And these are the top failures of Kathy Hochul among many. New York is the most unaffordable state in the nation because of Kathy Hochul's failed leadership. We have the highest taxes, the highest energy bills, utility prices, rent, groceries, construction costs. We are the most burdensome state when it comes to regulations facing small businesses, literally ranked 50th across the country for being able to own and run and start a business. And Kathy Hochul owns that. The reality is Democrats have had the governor's seat for 20 years next year, and enough is enough. We face a mass exodus of people and businesses, crushing unaffordability here, and frankly, corruption in New York State, all led by Kathy Hochul. So what does Kathy Hochul do? She endorses this communist mayor of New York City. And we know why, Ralph. It's because that she is desperately afraid of losing her far left, and she can't coalesce the Democrat Party. They're seeing the same polls that we are, which is not only is she very vulnerable statewide in a general election, but in a primary, she can't break 50% among registered Democrats. And so she puts New Yorkers last and handed over New York City to this communist.
She endorsed him. He did not endorse her.
He did not endorse her, and that is a running theme you're seeing among elected New York Democrats. Even in my district, there is a moderate Democrat who was just elected in a special election for New York Assembly. The first press conference he had, he refused to endorse Kathy Hochul because of her just abysmal leadership. And folks in Western New York and Erie County in particular know her well. This is someone who started off on the town burg of Hamburg, which, by the way, we're so proud that flipped to Republican hands this past local election
That's
cycle.
exactly right.
She tried to run
her own hometown.
Her hometown flipped.
Turned to, we were able to be successful with Republican conservative candidates in her own hometown.
Exactly. That was a big bright spot, and I believe that Kathy Hochul will lose Western New York, specifically Erie County, in this upcoming governor's race. She also pointed out, and this is important for viewers to know, when she was elected to Congress, she was fired after one term. So we're going to fire her after her full term as governor as well. This is a theme in her career. It is an accidental failed governor, and everybody knows it. It's not even a behind-closed-doors secret. State Democrat senators say that she is abysmal in her just failed leadership, and people are hurting. People across New York are hurting.
I want to get into some of what she's done as she became governor. Her first executive order, for example, was to make New York a sanctuary state. Tell us a little bit about, where that's brought us.
Yes, on day one, Kathy Hochul signed her first executive order, which was to continue New York as a sanctuary state. What that means is putting illegals first and New Yorkers last. That has led to violent crime committed by illegal migrants against New Yorkers, including burning a woman alive on the subway.
Incredible.
Kathy Hochul testified in front of me in Congress, and she didn't even show any compassion. She didn't show any knowledge of the fact that that happened. So it was a dismissiveness that is condescending to New Yorkers, and frankly, it's offensive. People are losing their lives because of these illegal migrants. And then let's talk about the economic piece of sanctuary state policies. This is billions, tens of billions of U.S. of New York hard-earned taxpayer dollars that are funding migrant housing, illegals health care, illegals school, and New York taxpayers are footing this bill. So ending that sanctuary state policy on day one, which will be an executive order I am committed to on day one, will not only make New York safer, it will make it more affordable because we're not going to be wasting tens of billions of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars going towards illegals.
I watched that clip of you in Congress interviewing her with regard to this, and she sat there and basically had no answer for all of what you put forth in front of her. I mean, she is going, I doubt she's going to be willing to debate you. She's going to have to, but clearly you're head and shoulders above what she's capable of.
I've had a lot of different witnesses in front of me in Congress over the years, cabinet secretaries, I've done congressional delegations with head of states, and I've had university presidents who I've forced to be fired. Kathy Hochul was the most unprepared witness I've ever seen, and she was sitting on the dais with other very bad governors. They had Pritzker, you had Tim Walz, and yet Kathy Hochul was an embarrassment for all New Yorkers in how, again, she didn't even feign knowledge of the fact that these sanctuary state policies, which she signed with an executive order, have led to loss of life in New York, horrible crimes. So in addition to the burning of the woman alive on the subway, rapes of minors, murders. I mean, this is a consistency because of Kathy Hochul, and it's also tied into the failed bail reform, which has led to this crime crisis as well. But ultimately, it's the taxpayers who are footing this bill. We are footing this bill for this incompetence, and enough is enough. New Yorkers deserve a governor that puts New Yorkers first, and Kathy Hochul has put New Yorkers last.
So I do want to ask you about a couple of things. The electric mandate, for example, that's supposed to come into effect January 1st. Every new construction building 7 stories or less must be all electric. That is devastating to Western New York.
It's devastating to Western New York. It's devastating to all of New York. The electric mandate and the gas stove ban starting January 1st is going to skyrocket the cost of construction. It's going to skyrocket the cost of electricity. It's also a public safety issue. When you think about the blizzards, for example, that happen both in Western New York and the Northway, that natural gas is important for safety and security, literally to heat people's homes. Kathy Hochul is putting lives at risk. People will die because of the gas stove ban and this all-electric mandate. And, you know, already Democrats are trying to tell her, just pause it for a year until after the election, just like she did with congestion pricing, if you remember, Ralph.
Yes.
She paused that until after the election and then raised taxes, very similar to what Cuomo did with fracking, where he only made a decision after he won election and then he put a moratorium, crushing energy independence in New York State. I'm not going to let Kathy Hochul get away with it. We need a full repeal of this outrageous, insane law. And I'll tell you, when we talk to our colleagues in Congress from other states, you know, the New York members, whether it's Langworthy or Claudia Tenney or myself, we have these conversations. Other states cannot believe that this is the reality in New York State. They don't believe it's even true because it's so outrageous, this gas stove ban and all-electric mandate. And it's going to be very detrimental to our economy. It's going to destroy, just further create the unaffordability crisis as energy prices continue to skyrocket.
I know that affordability is one of your major issues, and Kathy Hochul wants to talk about it, but like you just said, this electric mandate, we had Phil Nanula on from Essex Homes, and he talked about the fact that every single new construction is going to cost people at least $15,000 to $25,000 more for the construction, and then it's going to cost them more for electric energy along the way, and that's if the grid can handle it, which it clearly can't. So
the grid cannot handle it, and that's exactly right. The business owners will tell you, the developers, and also just homeowners, renters, people don't want this electric mandate. We want to be able to have affordable, abundant energy in the form of natural gas. And this ties in very much to the economic malaise that has been happening and the decay in upstate New York, particularly Western New York and the Southern Tier. This ban on fracking has been so negative to New York's economy. Meanwhile, you look over the border to Pennsylvania, which, by the way, has a Democrat governor, and you have energy booming. It is affordable. It is abundant. It has created billions of dollars of economic development and tens of thousands of jobs. And then you look at the New York, across the New York border, these small towns and communities have been completely hollowed out, and it's a result of her policies. So we're going to have this discussion about affordability. It played out in the mayor's race in New York City, where Mamdani ran on affordability, but the reality is it's Democrat single-party rule that has caused this unaffordability crisis, and we're going to hold them accountable for it.
So Mamdani wins by 50.4% of the vote, the lowest in a Democratic primary for the winner, I believe, in recent history. So, you know, while he's the winner, clearly there's plenty of Democrats in New York City, plenty of Democrats who realize that this far turn to the left is a huge mistake. And Kathy's right there.
Absolutely. Kathy propelled his candidacy. When New Yorkers were looking for leadership, and this would have never happened, by the way, had Cuomo been governor, because the Mamdani rise just wouldn't have even happened. It would have been crushed early on. Kathy Hochul propelled him. She legitimized and embraced this march towards socialism and communism. She hasn't condemned a single one of his positions. She hasn't condemned his calls to defund the police. She hasn't condemned his calls to abolish private property, to legalize prostitution, to literally seize the means of production. This is what this candidate Mamdani said. He has a record of saying this in the assembly. And you're right, Ralph. While people are pointing to his win both across the state and nationally, the fact that he barely got over 50%, that shows to me how weak Kathy Hochul will be going into this general election. Because as you and I know, New York City Democrats outnumber Republicans 7-1. And the fact that the Democrat nominee, even though he's a socialist, he was on the Democrat line, he could barely get a majority. That means that nearly 50% of New York voters, encompassing a lot of Democrats, realize this is too far gone, and they're never going to forgive Kathy Hochul for this. And Kathy Hochul has been heckled as she desperately tries to coalesce Mamdani's support. His voters are heckling her. They did it at the rally in Queens. They just did it when Kathy Hochul flew to Puerto Rico the day after Mamdani's win to try to coalesce the far left. They heckled her off stage there.
I saw how Lee Zeldin went into New York City, and he went into the stronghold of the Democrats, and he came out with a number of votes on that line. I think you're going to do so much better certainly in upstate. I think you're going to be a star, but I think you're going to do so much better even in New York City, even in Democratic territory, because you're the voice of reason. They're the voice of the far left. I can't fathom that somebody, a Democrat, is willing to call themselves a socialist. I mean, 20 years ago, that never could have happened, and today it happens on a regular basis in the far left Democratic Party, which is where Kathy Hochul is at this point.
Yes, it's been a full-blown socialist takeover of the New York Democrat Party on Kathy Hochul's watch. And we remember, this was an issue that Cuomo had to deal with when he was governor, and he was able to keep control of the New York Democrat Party and push off the Democrat socialists, the far left. Kathy Hochul has turned it over to them and has surrendered this to the socialists because she's a weak and accidental governor, and it's why she's the worst governor in America. And New Yorkers are smart. New Yorkers are going to turn out in droves to vote against Kathy Hochul. And upstate, we will boost turnout. We will have to win Western New York, which I know we will. Her numbers are abysmal. And as you know, I've been doing events in Erie County for years. You and I met years ago as we've worked to support local candidates. And I'm a worker. Kathy Hochul is not going to out-upstate Elise Stefanik. And when I started considering running, remember when Hochul tried to redefine herself as a mom from upstate? Well, this mom from upstate is going to defeat Kathy Hochul and save New York by unifying Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, and independents, the people, to fire her.
So I am so proud to be 1,000% supporter of yours. I know my party, the next time we meet here in Erie County, will endorse you 100%. You have my full support. You'll have the full support of the Republican Party. I believe you'll have the full support of the Conservative Party. And I believe you'll have the full support of independents and Democrats across this state. I know that your time is valuable. I know you've got to go to another thing. I really appreciate you coming on to talk to Western New Yorkers.
This is great. I'll be on again, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Bye.